Hello everyone, and welcome back to our next design class, our June design class. We're very excited to be here. Verity and I look forward to these now. We're here from our cute little cottage, Humblewood cottages in the country. And today we're going to be talking about something that's going to be a mainstay feature of Humblewood 2, a monster type almost that is going to go all the way through. So we're going to be designing, coming up with some ideas anyway for a group of creatures called the frostburned, and also if we've got time, working on a template so that you can turn any creature into a frostburned creature. Yeah. Anything you want to add into the mix there, Verity, from the start?
Just sort of welcoming anyone who's new to our streams. This is our first one that we're doing publicly, and we're excited to have you along for the ride. So, yeah, shall we just crack on and start designing this here batten?
Yeah, I guess we could talk a little bit about the frostburn in as specific a terms as we're allowed to without giving too much away, because they are kind of core to the story. But as you have maybe seen from as you maybe pieced together anyway from things that you have seen already, Humblewood 2 has a heavy ice and frost kind of vibe, and the frostburn are the consequences of our until now, for now, undisclosed villains' decisions and the effects that they have on the environment. Accidentally at first and on purpose later, these frostburned are people that are getting basically all the heat drained out of them by an unseen icy force, and you're going to have to sort of learn how to deal with them as you're playing. It's something that can happen to any living creature, and so that's where the template comes in. But we want to come up with sort of our standard frostburned humanoid. They sort of turn into a zombie-like thing, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere between like heat vampire and zombie, with a little bit of kind of spreading your frosty curse in there too. Yeah,
they struggle to gain heat back. That's their main drive, is to warm up, and they can never be warm. And so they steal it from other people, and that just creates more frostburned.
Yeah, so. Just it sort of takes away their humanoidanity and humanity. But this is Humblewood, so maybe there's a way to help these folks out. That we can't really get into quite yet. But yeah, they are definitely going to be like one of the major threats that people are going to be facing in Humblewood 2.
Exactly. So I guess, yeah, before we start putting any, like we've done before we put anything down onto paper, digital or otherwise, we want to sort of talk about what they need to do. Maybe we want to talk about what they need to do in the story, and our sort of hopes and wishes for the types of monster that they can be. I think we've already mentioned one important thing. Like, do we want them to be able to spread the frostburned curse? Will they have an effect like a vampire being able to drain life and create spawn, or is it something like that? We actually haven't really talked about it beyond. We know that how frostburned are created from scratch
in the first place.
But
yeah, do we want to lean into that kind of zombie vampire, like kind of werewolf, all your classic monsters? Is that something you want to have?
One of my favorite undead, is it the Wraith? There's like one low CR undead creature that, if it has an ability to drain energy from you, and the DC to beat it is very low, but it's kind of devastating when it happens. And I think it might be the Wraith, but I think it permanently reduces your max hit points or something, and you don't get them back until you do a rest or what have you. And I do like the idea of that. I like the idea of something, maybe one frostburn on their own is not too much of a threat, but the idea of a bunch of them, even just being in the presence of too many of them, can start having frostburned effects on you. So
yeah, I do think that this is definitely a horde monster. Like, I don't think the CR is going to be particularly high, but if you are facing off against, say, an entire town that has been frostburned, then suddenly you're in some trouble.
Yeah, we're probably looking at like a CR 1/4 or 1/2, maybe even, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like if we're taking the like base frostburned as like a commoner who got frostburned, then that kind of gives us our like CR balance. Or like our starting point, I guess, for CR, because obviously other things, and that's where the template's going to come in, and we'll have to think a bit more about CR stuff. That's a little bit further down the line. I think there's some other kind of touch points we definitely know we want these things to have. There's cold. Cold damage seems pretty important. And I think also like kind of the flip side of that, the fire thing. I don't think fire is going to necessarily do too much to them, or maybe even heal them if they're getting like heat, and that's in some way good to them. Because we do have this idea of thawing. Like, can you bring someone back from this state through enough heat? So I think I really like doing interesting things with damage types. It's not just this is the color of this damage type, but doing something a bit more fun with it. And yeah. Any other
it's always the
thoughts?
question of, do you make a creature that is cold based? Do you make them strong against cold attacks, or do you have it just not have any effect, like or they are neutral to cold effects, or do you do the opposite where fire does more damage to them, or it does or they're just immune to it because they're so cold? So depending on whether you follow the Pokemon rules or other rule types like that, it can change. I kind of like the idea that cold helps them, or
I like the idea that fire helps them, because I think the first thing someone's going to do when they see this shuffling cold thing coming towards them is like light it up with fire, and then it's like, oops, oh no, that's a fun lesson to learn quickly.
Maybe it's the only thing that I find a little maybe strange that it heals them, because you would think, well, the thing that is kind of moving them around is the ice, right? Like we sort of determined that the ice is keeping them moving in a way, the elemental power of the ice, and so melting that away might not help them a whole lot. But
maybe it gives them something, like the person inside. It helps that person rather than the frostburned.
I think a resistance to flame totally makes sense, but then maybe when they take flame damage, they also get to immediately use their reaction to get like a burst of energy. Like if we want to represent something like that, they could use your reaction to move and make an attack or something. So that would be kind of a tear. They're kind of slow and shambly, but when they heat up, they've got their muscles and everything limber up a little more, just for a minute, for a second, 6 seconds specifically, and they can dash at you. I think that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like that. It's not just like bag of hit points thing. It's like something else.
Having them be able to regenerate, hit points or heal hit points is kind of like that's meant for keeping bigger monsters around.
Yeah, and also, like if you're throwing kind of 7 or 8 of these at your high level party, you don't want to be tracking
the ups and downs of that.
Ups and downs of the hit points.
Like looking at the zombie as a starting point, their CR 1/4, and they've got 22 hit points. That's probably in the pocket of where we'd want to be. But something like that, because that's something that we, without giving too much away, they're so cold that they can't really think straight. And the idea that heating them up, especially in like with magic fire, which is likely to be what it is going to just sort of thaw their brain enough for them to get that boost of energy. I like that imagery quite a bit. And the first time, you're right, the first time that the wizard shoots a firebolt at one of them, and it takes 2 damage and then charges him, I think is going to be a very cool moment. So
Yeah. The other thing that we've discussed a little bit, which I wonder if it's like, is this something that lives in the lore or is this something that lives in the stat block, is what happens when you defeat these creatures. Because for various lore reasons, when you essentially kill a frostburned, you drop it to 0 hit points, it doesn't die in the typical sense. They just completely freeze into a unmelting kind of ice statue. That's kind of important for various plot-based reasons. And my kind of question is, do we want to put that into the stat block, or is that something we just keep in the lore? Because I don't know that it's really necessary to have it be in the stat block.
Yeah, I think it's, maybe from the plot of like, what's the narrative thing that's happening. We look at the frostburned as less of a like an affliction and more like they're possessed by because the elementals
the spirit of ice,
the spirit of ice, and that what you're fighting when you're damaging them is the thing that's possessing them, is the spirit. Same way when someone's like possessed by a ghost, you do enough damage, you can knock them out of that. So it maybe it could be something that we reinforce, that when they drop to 0 hit points, the frostburned creature goes into
this icy stasis.
They
get resistance to everything, like something like that.
Well, I would say, I think we want people to make the mistake of accidentally finishing one off potentially, but I think that they're like unconscious and nothing can wake them up. Yeah. They're stable at 0 hit points or something. And no amount of rest or healing can bring them back because of mysterious story reasons.
Mysterious story reasons, yes.
But I think having that in there just as like
like when we think, if we're kind of thinking out to like the template, like that makes sense, I think, to have in the template, and therefore I think it needs to be in the base.
I think it's a good reminder, especially because of that story beat that we're potentially looking for, that maybe they can be saved. Players may want to, and this just reminds the GM when they're looking at the stat block, oh, they don't die in this, they're not like dead in the conventional conventional D&D way. Okay. You could probably still finish them off in the same way that you'd finish off anyone who was unconscious at 0 hit points, but
who is a statue made of ice. But
the GM describing them like freezing and falling over or something should hopefully prompt empathic characters to be like, well, what's going on here?
Empathy being one of the main cause of Humblewood. We're trying to build towards that.
We're definitely wanting to toughen up Humblewood a little bit in book 2, but we also, because characters are leveling up and D&D is a game about fighting things at its core, but we also want to give lots of gray area decisions to make about what is,
what is the kind thing to do in a situation. And the frostburned are a major threat. Like if you don't do anything, then people are gonna get killed. It will not be good. Any other thoughts before we sort of move over to the stat block?
I think that's a good start.
Okay, let's scroll on down to our lovely little template. Ooh, it's so beautiful. I don't think if we want to focus on getting to like the template, like not this template, but the frostburned template stage, some of this we can kind of wait and see. I think the traits and the actions are and a little bit the kind of resistances, etc., are the places we should probably be kind of focusing our thoughts, especially like traits, like what is it to be a frostburned, and how do we then make sure that can be applied to other creatures as well.
That's the more interesting thing to discuss on stream too, I think, than stat stat numbers and whatnot.
This stuff is maths. It's CR maths. It's we do that. We kind of did that last time as well. So yeah.
Well, we can definitely lock in resistances and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense right now.
So fire, and I think cold is immune,
just
right?
immune to cold.
Yeah. I don't think we need to go beyond that necessarily. No. I don't think they have any vulnerabilities. Frozen is not a thing.
Yeah, unless we think of something that the frostburned is would protect them from. Well, like
frightened, maybe.
Yeah, like thinking of from a zombie point of view.
Frightened and charmed.
Yeah, the kind of mindless characteristics. Yeah. So I think talking about the frostburned effect, like the thing that starts to freeze the area around, or the creatures around them, I think that's a big starting point. And do you feel like it should be an aura kind of thing?
I think it's on a hit. I think
so it's more
like that makes them feel more dangerous to me.
If they grab
the sucking your heat out.
That zombie idea of like someone might get hit and then their arms freezing and they're hiding it from the party, or that kind of atmosphere we're looking for. Okay. Yeah. So actually it's an attack. It's not a trait so much. He's part of. Is it a claw attack for these? Probably.
I think. Our little if we scroll up to our nice little concept art, I think they have clothes. They will have clothes because it's just going to be a person, right? I don't think that's it, but like a lot of our races in Humblewood already have like a natural weapon attack, and the idea of like you kind of having these like kind of icicle like claws, even if you're not.
We've described it as like the ice sort of growing over top of them and creating little patches of armor and stuff. So I think that kind of makes sense. Ice claws being dragged across.
And then like, ice talons if you're a bird folk, like kind of fun.
And something the template can do is maybe convert one of their attacks into. You say add their main attack does extra damage and extra cold damage and whatever. If it doesn't make sense for if it's a big beast or something for it to be clawing at somebody, it doesn't make sense.
Like if it's like kind of a creature with a horns attack, it makes sense.
Like a gore, a gore attack, and you say it's frosty gore,
But I think on our basic one, this is a claws.
And then as far as traits go, we'd be looking at that ability that if they've taken fire damage, if we want that to be that they get to take a reaction and move an attack or something. Does that goes under that becomes a reaction?
That's a trait, I think. It's an
because some stat blocks do have reactions written down, but then you would have to word it in such a way that they were like if they get hit by flame.
I would keep it. I like keeping it like that. We can start it out as a trait if we feel like it needs to go to reaction.
Sure.
That's kind of like design choice to a certain
makes
extent.
sense. They may move up to their movement and make one claw attack against the source of the heat.
I think just against
anybody.
Anybody, yeah.
Okay.
Use its reaction to move up to its speed and And we'll give it some kind of fun name.
Burst of something. Burst of
Ball burst. Deadly thaw.
Picking up steam.
Thawed claws. Claw thaw.
Cloud claws. Yeah, a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
We can drop it.
Find some. I'm just going to put claw thaw for now, but we'll probably find something a little bit less difficult.
We have a question from Rico, so you know it's going to be good. What happens if you lick a frozen frostburned?
I think you get stuck to it.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie A Christmas Story, go and watch that. There's a little kid who licks a pole, and you need your friend with a firebolt cantrip to kind of heat your tongue up and have it unstick. And another question from Moirath. Are there plans to go further in depth on other cities in Humblewood? Yes.
Yes. Like, not in Humblewood, the wood, but in the world of Humblewood, yes. Alderheart is the big city in Humblewood, and more cities to come, for sure.
Yeah, we're covering quite a lot of continent in this one, and so the sort of almanac section of the book at the beginning is going to have a lot of cool, interesting places to visit, different political situations and such. So,
yeah, different ways of living, different trees.
Yep. Yeah, obviously different temperatures lead to different types of things. Kat Kruger has a follow-up to Rico's question. What's the equivalent of a double dog dare in Humblewood? Well, they don't have dogs that we know of yet, so it would probably be something like a what would the double? Is there a D creature that we could get in there? Double.
It could be a triple tilia dare.
Triple tilia dare. Yeah.
Our little gecko.
Tilia do look like they get into trouble.
Yeah, they look like they're up for a game of truth or dare. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure like the big dare is amongst the children of Wesden and Everden are probably like, oh, go poke that sleeping
slime,
bird animal or something.
Yeah.
Or take a bite out of a slime or something like that. Yeah, thanks for these good and important questions, Chad.
Okay. The other thing we kind of already got from our brainstorm is this falling to 0 hit points thing that we can kind of sort out. So when the frostburned drops to 0 hit points, it fully into a solid.
And while typing that up, we'll have to figure out what the effect is if you get hit by the icy part of a claw attack, right?
Yeah. There's definitely going to be some cold damage. And if we want the sense of like the frostburnedness spreading, then that has to be kind of in there too. It's like I feel like it should be pretty hard to get turned into a frostburned.
No, but something staying with you temporarily sounds like it could be a good plan.
And like it has some kind of effect. Like maybe you are resistant to cold damage while this thing is happening to you.
Or you take, until you rest, you take some cold damage when you do certain things. Like the idea is that you've been gotten by this bug, and this curse has gotten to you, and now it's starting to drain you of things. So you got to be careful with that kind of thing.
Yeah, we
Because
don't want a death spiral doesn't quite seem like the
no,
Humblewood
yeah.
way. um,
I'm just trying.
yeah.
I'm also trying to think of things that happen to people when they are in like extreme cold conditions, and obviously like exhaustion and stuff comes to mind. But it's really dangerous to start messing with exhaustion as well.
Mhm.
I think it would be unusual for it to give you abilities. But although we could we could create a condition, the frostburn condition or something.
Yeah, or like the frostburn, like it could be a sidebar. Like
Sure.
yeah,
It could
like
affect one of your character's traits too, where you need to be warm. Like
mhm.
you just
You go on the
it could,
floor. I need to be warm all the time. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And it could be a role playing aspect to it as well
Hmm.
until you have recovered your hit points or something like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, lesser restoration, greater restoration, something along those lines. Um,
Moirath asks, I had asked this in the Discord, but do you folks have any plans on implementing the new D&D rules in the new book? The news is new to us, just as it's new to all of you. And so, of course, like we have been talking about it. But and the timing for us, is everything. Um, the Kickstarter isn't until next yearish, so we do have time to think about it. But we don't have an official stance on whether or not Humblewood 2 will be fully compatible or not. But
yeah, we're excited to see the new books coming out. So, and
yeah.
we'll dive into them.
Kat suggests, could it be like becoming petrified but becoming frostburned?
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that sense of like slow kind of. I think this is over a series of days. Um,
having your movement reduced seems
mhm.
like a
That's the classic cold thing that
yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Your movement is reduced by 10 feet, or
Or
it could
like
be
5 feet and then another 5 feet if you fail the next con save kind of thing.
right, right.
Mhm.
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
want people to feel, if we feel comfortable having people keep track of something like that.
Mhm.
Um,
I don't think
is
it
it
would be too frequent. I think it would be.
if it's every time you get hit?
Mhm. Yeah, that's pretty rough. Um,
Yeah, I would say you're either frostburned or you're not,
mhm.
and maybe well, I don't know. Vulnerability to cold damage would cause problems too.
I would say that it would give you I like if you're gonna have like this is a problem like you're gonna turn to a frostburned that's kind of a problem, but I like then having the twist of that you have resistance to cold damage, so it makes you like you're more likely to survive your encounter with the frostburned, because if you just die before you turn into a frostburned, I think you're just dead, right? Like I don't think the spirit device revives you and
sure.
zombie
Yeah.
like you come back. So it almost like perpetuates itself by making you slightly more likely to survive this fight if you like fail this save or you're dealing with the like effects of it. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, if you have been hit by this, your attack is reduced, your movement is reduced in some way. I think makes sense, and
Mm-hmm.
then you gain resistance. There, how long does that resistance to
I
cold?
think I think that's like if you have failed your con save and you've gained the like frostburned condition,
Sure.
or like you're in the like kind of stages of frostburned. I think that's where that lives rather than in the stat block. If we want to go that far, if we want
Sure.
to go that route.
I
Yeah.
really like the idea of writing a frostburn condition. I think that that is a clean thing. You know, at least I'm not against it,
Mm-hmm.
because then we can put a little more game design into that,
Mm-hmm.
and GMs will have the option because there's other ways of becoming frostburned,
Mm-hmm.
and so GMs will have the option of applying that in all kinds of situations. And also we could have other, if say the players are up against frosty cold devices that are attacking them, those could inflict frostburn as well. You can't have, it also solves the problem of doubling up because you can't have two copies of the same condition. So that might be a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want it to be. We don't want these to be overpowered. I think it's like
no.
You get hit and you fail your save. Like if you get hit again and fail the save again, I don't think there's any extra penalty.
Corton Dalton, sorry if I messed up your first name there. Suggestion from my kiddo: when hit by fire, that it causes an area effect of cold for a round, like an aura of cold because of being thawed, but refreezes quickly. I really like that.
Yeah, like a steam, and then
it temporarily blasts the cold off of them and affects the people around. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Very thematic feeling too. I do like the idea of an aura effect of some kind, because then them just showing up is like the undead are always shown marching out of the fog, but these frostburn kind of bring their own cold, chill fog with them as they go. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, you feel them coming.
Yeah, rolling in like bad weather, I think, is a good angle. And then Rico asks, can monsters or animals become frostburned? And the whole plan for the template is that you'll be able to apply it to any creature, maybe with the exception of constructs or something. But basically, if you're alive and you've got you breathe air and you've got a beating heart, you can be affected by the frostburn. We have plans for early encounters in the adventure to be with frostburned beasts as opposed to people at the beginning. Yeah, do we want to see where we could maybe fit in
a scary aura, a chilling aura?
We add it to the cloth.
Yeah.
It means a lot happens when they get hit by fire damage, but fire is also one of the most common damage types to be able to do to creatures, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's
everyone within before it takes its reaction, everyone within 10 feet, or even it could just be 5 feet, takes 1d6 or 1d8 cold damage.
To be automatic. Yeah.
It provides some tactical decision making that players will have to do once they realize that it happens, because normally a mage, a wizard, or a spellcaster can just sling their spells into the middle of combat without issue, but now those fighters and the paladins up close are going to keep getting hit by cold damage. Also, these guys are anathema to fireball, which pleases me as a DM.
Also have the thought of like, oh yeah, I think I'm a really cool wizard. I'm going to drop a fireball on these guys. I'm level 5 now.
Yeah. Anyone who does subscribe to the Pokemon rules is going to be very upset, but it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. They'll learn. It's fine. Yeah, that's fun. I like the. We can definitely also talk about this like when we do the write up, and it's like the idea of the like big
for sure,
and then refreezing because the power of the ice is so strong with them.
That's what's happening to creatures within 5 feet is they are getting a little bit frozen themselves. Cool.
Actually, just for each creature. And because they are immune to cold damage. It doesn't matter if one of their allies. Not that I think they really have allies. They just have similar objectives.
Yeah,
that's nice.
I always think of them as one big creature that just happens to have a lot of small parts that are spread out across the battlefield. Yeah.
So I filled in the clause a little bit with just like a nice series of hashtags where numbers will go. So shall we sort of have a think about how we want to word this? Like, and the creature must, and the target must make.
Yeah, make a DC hashtag Constitution save, I guess.
I have them only attacking one creature and not one target because I don't think they're interested in targets unless they are warm. Like, I could imagine they might attack like a brazier, but I can't imagine they would like attack a. Well, they might attack a door to get to a creature. Maybe.
That's an interesting distinction. Yeah. Do they make that a lot in stat blocks?
Yeah.
They do? Okay.
Yeah. And actually, now that I think about it, like these things are going to want to claw their way through a door.
Yeah, I would say, for the relentless aspect of them.
Yeah.
And especially knowing where they show up, I think in the adventure, without saying too much, they'll probably need to get through some doors. So
classic doors.
The enemies of all. Yeah. Rico asking, will salt affect frostburned? That's a good question.
That's a good question. Maybe.
And D&D's alchemical discussions are not as strong as they could be, perhaps. Maybe in the new rules somewhere.
Yeah.
But I would argue as a DM to perhaps allow enough salt to do fire damage of some kind, or act like acid damage against them.
Maybe that's a magic item that we have.
Yeah, faction is developing salt.
Yeah. Salt bombs.
Salt bombs.
Such things. Yeah.
Rico, you should come and work at Hit Point Press. You've got a lot of good ideas. Mr. Dalton's child is ahead of you, though, of course.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of cheating here. We'll say on a fail, they get the frostburn condition. And
then we'll have to work out what that means.
Yeah, I think that's a worthy use of our time here, because it will affect sort of a lot of the story. It'll allow us to put it all over the place if we solidify it.
Yeah. I think for clarity's sake, I think this condition can't be called frostburned, because I think that's the end stage is the frostburned, right? This is like frost something else.
Frostbite?
Frostbite. Frostbitten.
Yeah.
I guess it's lowercase. And then we have to explain what frostbitten is in a delightful sidebar. So in our behind the scenes, sidebars go in red, so that we know what we're looking at.
So our graphic designer can look at this and know that it needs to go into a little box. It's all in our style guide. And so things we could put point form stuff here if we don't want to write everything out, but things we definitely are thinking is some movement of your movement's affected. You've got cold resistance.
Yeah. Cold.
And
scroll down a little bit. I think you gain a flaw. I do like of like a role playing opportunity.
It could end if you take fire damage. So in a desperate situation, someone could shoot the person who's got it with a fire bolt. I guess we would put when the condition ends in the attack, right? Because things like frightened For example, lasts a minute sometimes, or until the end of your next turn, or what have you. If we want this to stick around.
Yeah, so it would be then like a frostbitten target, an affected target.
Remains frostbitten until they take fire damage, or any amount of fire damage, or a long rest, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, or like, does this progress to them becoming a frostburned?
Yeah, I think that is something bigger than the conversation today. But I think if it's if frostbitten is a condition that can stick around, then I think there could be other things that attacks and things that interact with frostbitten that might push them past. It depends. Like using some of our other books in Heckna, there's a whole 6 stages of being turned into a clown.
I don't need to go quite that far.
That's sort of the extreme side of things. But I think that if you are frostbitten, you are at risk to stronger effects.
I don't think a long rest is enough for me. I think, but I do think magic at this stage, like lesser restoration, greater restoration.
Let me do a quick Google here.
Yeah, what level?
I can never remember what the difference is between the two of them that they can do. I know that one is stronger than the other, obviously, but
yeah, greater does like petrified, which I feel like this is kind of in the
yeah, it's a little tougher. Blinded, deafened, paralyzed, or poisoned for lesser restoration. Yeah, and it's that's a second level, so they would have access to that.
Yeah, because greater is a 5th level, and I don't think at the stages that they're encountering these that people will have 5th level spells, which then becomes like a adventure design issue of like, is there some NPC you can get to within the time?
Yeah, you don't want someone stuck with.
No.
Greater restoration also gets rid of curses. So I mean, it really is depending on how strong we want this to be. But I think that keeping it to lesser restoration makes sense. And someone could, like, from a dramatic point of view, taking fire damage could be putting your hand into an open flame, you know, because you're role playing that flaw so closely, you're so desperate for heat, and it will hurt you, but it will actually solve the problem. I think that's interesting. I always try and think of the story that is told even by like a claw attack on some low level zombie monster. Like, what's interesting about what's going to happen here, right?
Yeah. Hold Blank has an interesting suggestion. Maybe fire damage, or spend a minute next to a heat source. And they think having an environmental and magical means of mitigating frostbitten would be good. Yeah, because like not everyone's with someone who can cast lesser restoration.
It could be that you have to rest. You have to get a full night's rest near a large open flame, because not every room you sleep in is going to have a fireplace. And that kind of thing. And if the way that frostbitten is gotten rid of is based on the action that causes it, then we can adjust, because there can be versions of frostbitten that can only be gotten rid of by fire. So maybe this one, maybe we say taking fire damage or a long rest within 10 feet of a large open flame, and we get rid of lesser restoration for this one. You know,
this is just
because it's small potatoes compared to what, say, bigger villains and stuff can do.
Yeah.
Thank you, chat. You're contributing, not unsurprisingly. I don't want to act surprised, but yeah, this is great. This is so many good ideas from everyone. Cool. I think we've got our little guy here, our frosty little guy. More than one claw attack, multi attack.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about CR. If we want some and like damage.
Yeah.
Like kind of like a swipe. That's always fun.
The monster I was thinking of was the Spectre. That's the one that sort of drains you.
Yeah, that's a scary boy.
It is. Yeah. For a CR1, it's a pretty nasty guy.
I think CR quarter is a little low for these, but CR half, or even CR1 feels kind of.
Yeah, the zombie is CR quarter, and it only has one attack per.
Yeah.
Although we have to factor in the fact that they may be getting extra attacks on their reactions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think once you crack the whole fire damage thing, you're probably not going to do that unless you've got some cackling villain who's just peppering them with like a little bit of fire here and there to set off the.
Remember, the monster, other monsters can use their pals' abilities. Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a fun idea. Some warlock hiding in a tree shooting firebolts at their own troops.
Yeah.
So if we look at the Spectre, it's a CR1, just to see if there's anything. American spelling of Spectre. Boo. And then it still only has one attack. Same number of hit points as it's considered a CR1 because of that hit point drain.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
Scary effect. I don't think this is as scary as like in terms of like facing off one like frostbitten isn't as scary as your hit point, the maximum getting drained, especially at lower levels. We are in the like CR 5 to 8 range where you're pretty tough. You're not small, squishy first level adventurers, even though these are like you could potentially run a first level campaign with these. That's not the adventure that is going to be in this book. But we want it to be balanced so that a GM can run a first level campaign. Yeah. I don't think these guys have any skills or saving throws. I don't think they're particularly skillful or like taking care of themselves.
I can't think of anything specific that would make sense for them.
Yeah.
As far as using the math, 8 of these for a level 5 party, 8 of them is a hard encounter. And I think 8 is a good. That's for a party of 5 characters. So
right.
So wait, let me do 4 level 5 characters.
That's if they're CR1 or CR half.
That's if they're CR1.
Okay.
4 level 5s is still, it's on the high end of hard, but it's still hard. So that would mean 2 of them. 2 of them go for every player. Which I think would feel kind of overwhelming, decently overwhelming. I think that CR1 is a good place to land in. It only takes 1 more to get into the low end of the deadly range, but.
Okie dokie. So if you look at our handy dandy DM guide for some rough maths. So we know that their proficiency bonus is +2, and which is useful. I think strength is probably what they're using to attack, right? And
yeah,
if a CR1, you usually want it to be doing like a +3, maybe a +4 on its attack. So that kind of gives us roughly where the strength needs to be. I like +4. If we don't give them multi-attack, then I like a +4 for these guys. If we do give them multi-attack, we definitely don't need them.
Yeah, I think a multi-attack is good. Because I do think once they close in, they move pretty fast. And the ultimate consequences is just you're just twice as likely to leave a fight with frostbitten, which we want, I think.
Yeah.
Paul says, I'm imagining an ice version of the aspect of fire now. And well, that's that's interesting. I mean,
Really?
yeah, well, I guess we'll take it under
Under advisement, yes.
Yeah.
Under consideration.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really weird if there was only the one aspect. So
yeah.
So yeah, thanks for suggesting that, because we might have made a big mistake. Yeah, aspect of ice. Maybe. I don't know how to be subtle in these times. But they yeah, I'm really liking how these are shaping up. I think they're really fun. And the template, it sort of writes itself. Like, most of this stuff is going to carry over.
Yeah, if we scroll way down to the, like, I did put in just the half dragon template, which is in the SRD, and this is kind of like what we're gonna be giving GMs as like a little toolkit. Obviously, dragons pretty complicated chaps with their various colors and resistances and stuff, but it should just be pretty simple to have the.
They gain the same.
Yeah.
They gain the same. They gain the same resistances and such that the standard creature has. Yeah. And then their attack does extra extra cold damage and has the frostbitten, gives the frostbitten effect or something like that. Rico says, but can you eat something frostburned? #delicious dungeon. I'm going to say no, but it will keep for a long time until you're ready to eat it.
Right. Kind of a pleasant sorbet.
Yeah. Humblewood doesn't, I think, have refrigerators yet, so this a big frostburned ooze might be a good way to. Ooh, a frostburned ooze.
The slushy slime.
That's a slushy slime, yeah.
It's a slush, not a slime. Yeah.
Gordon suggests, if a player is already frostbitten, could it do extra cold damage on their next attacks? I did think about that. I thought, once you're cold, it's hard. Cold is going to make you feel colder, but I do like Verity's angle on it, sort of temporarily giving you this immunity to or resistance to the cold. But what I like about us making it a condition means that other effects can. A higher level baddie could have an attack that says, if the character is frostbitten, do X, Y, Z. Yeah.
Having advantage on frostbitten creatures.
Yeah. If the idea of the frostbitten is that they're draining heat, someone having an attack that's that ramped up to 11, where on their turn with a single attack or whatever, legendary action or whatever, they can do extra damage to people who are already frostbitten. I think there's lots of design room there. Just like you see with how, say, the frightened condition is applied, creatures that are frightened have different effects beyond the standard effect of frightened, depending on the monster and the source. So. And Verity brought up a good point. You don't want a death spiral even at fifth level. So, if they get frostbitten early and now all the attacks are doing extra cold damage to them, it could get bad. And that is good for some settings, but I don't think it's good for Humblewood.
No, Humblewood's a little bit more generous.
That's a darkest dungeon thing. Humblewood's more of a brightest dungeon situation.
It's when we do Crumblewood.
Crumblewood. The post-apocalyptic Humblewood is called Crumblewood, and that's the dark, seedy underbelly. Wow, the time really flew. I was not expecting that, but we've got about 5 minutes left. So please, if you have any other questions, sling them our way. We're not just creating this one type of frostburned and template. The template is going to be more for GMs to apply whatever they like, to just give them an easy way to create more frostburned creatures if you want, or if you want an important NPC to be frostburned or something like that. But we are going to provide some bespoke frostburned creatures that, you know, have their own take on it. We were talking, you know, for example, a large beast will react differently, and have different abilities. So you can expect to see some other frostburned creatures, not just templates. But figuring out using what is a regular humanoid that's been affected by it, which will be the majority of them, that's gonna, thanks to your help, faithful viewers, that's going to be a big useful step for us. So Corton Dalton, just wanted to say my kiddo's really excited about the idea of game design, so I really appreciate getting to see the process. Looking forward to enjoying future ones too. That's really great. I mean, that warms our frostburned little hearts, for sure. Yeah.
It's fun to get to share the behind the scenes stuff with all of you, and especially anyone who's aspiring to do their own game design. We want to spread the fun of doing it.
Rico says, are there other elemental ailments planned? And with our focus on icy stuff, I think for this one it's going to be mostly frostburned, but who knows? You can get heat stroke, waterlogged. They're all the options are out there. If you've got ideas, let us know. Especially if it's got a pun in the name. Moirat says, agreed. This was a really great view of the design process, and I appreciate y'all's time. Well, we appreciate you coming out and chatting with us. We're doing this monthly, and it's nice to see that. Let us know if you're like the time that we're doing this at too. We've been previously doing them during our working hours in the afternoon, and I think that it's sort of worth bumping to 7 to get more people on board. 7 our time. Paul says, yeah, quick question about the setting. What do you recommend for higher level games? I want to run the setting for a longer campaign, but I feel like it may be tricky past tier 2. Yeah, that's something that we think about a lot, because of the amount of time it takes to write a book. The people who have been playing that first Humblewood adventure, we've learned that they have extended those first 5 levels across 3 years and 60, 70 games or something like this, which is wonderful. And because they're stalling, they want to play the next installment of the story. But yeah, sorry, Verity, go ahead.
Yeah, and then there are other people who've kind of homebrewed their own. We released the world map, and so people have been yeah, my dust loom campaign, and I'm wow, that's we haven't really got there yet, but it's so cool to see that people are just filling in the empty spaces. We will get there, I hope. Yeah.
My suggestion is always to look at existing monsters that you like and find how you can reskin them to fit into Humblewood. On previous of these design things, last one we did, we were working on something called the Walrus, which is a large walrus, a humongous walrus monster, but that we are that we're actually going to be treating as a giant, using the giant creature type. And so I strongly suggest, if you need something for a higher level campaign, look at the monsters that exist out there in the Monster Manual, SRD, whatever, and just think about how you can retheme them. A lot of them could easily be rethemed with just changing a movement type and maybe changing a few resistances, and now they're a large animal as opposed to, a demon or what have you. So that's my suggestion for now. And of course, stay tuned for Humblewood 2. That will take you through tier 2, or a good chunk of tier 2 anyway. And there'll be lots of big baddies in there.
Yeah, it's just scale. We're turning up the dials for Humblewood 2 for sure.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's 8 o'clock on the nose. So I think we're gonna wrap up.
Thank you so much for coming out and hanging out with us and giving us great ideas and questions. And yeah, it's been great.
Really, really thankful for all of you that have made it out tonight. And presumably this will be available to watch again down the line if you want to pass it on to someone who might have missed it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thank you to Allie, our producer, I guess, on this.
Our intrepid producer behind the scenes.
And yeah, thank you for everyone for watching.
Mm-hmm.